It is 2012. You are watching a movie, and the main character casually drops that they make $75,000 a year. The soundtrack immediately shifts to smooth jazz. They are wearing a tailored coat, living in a sunlit two-bedroom loft with exposed brick, sipping a craft espresso, and talking about their upcoming summer trip to Barcelona like it is a routine grocery run. Back then, hitting six figures felt like entering an exclusive VIP lounge where financial stress simply evaporated. You reached 100 grand, the velvet ropes opened, and a guy in a tuxedo handed you a mortgage with a 3% interest rate and a golden retriever. Now, fast forward to right now. In 2026, you open your banking app on the first of the month, stare at your direct deposit after taxes, insurance, and your employer's mandatory wellness fee, and realize that a six-figure salary in today's economy buys you the exact lifestyle of a Victorian chimney sweep who occasionally orders Chipotle with extra guacamole. Welcome back. I am Max, your resident corporate survivor who is currently 3 Slack notifications away from faking my own disappearance into the Canadian wilderness. And before we get into the grim arithmetic of modern survival, let us get the official legalities out of the way. This is absolutely not financial advice. If you take life planning advice from a visibly vibrating cartoon man, clutching an iced coffee that cost $9.45, your portfolio has bigger problems than inflation. So let us talk about the myth of the good salary. For decades, American culture drilled a very specific number into our collective consciousness: $100,000. That was the benchmark. That was the finish line of the middle-class video game. If you made 6 figures, you had officially defeated capitalism. You could afford the house with the 2-car garage, take a family vacation without checking your checking account balance in the airport bathroom, save for retirement, and still have enough left over to buy name-brand paper towels without feeling a wave of post-purchase guilt. Except nobody updated the cultural script to match the economic reality. Let us break down what actually happens to that glorious $100,000 salary the second it hits your bank account in 2026. First, Uncle Sam takes his cut. Depending on your state, after federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, and your company's high-deductible healthcare plan that somehow covers nothing until you have already paid the equivalent of a kidney transplant out of pocket. Your gross monthly income of $8,333 evaporates down to roughly $5,600 to $6,000 in actual take-home cash. Now, let us go shopping for the basics. Let us start with shelter, the ancient human concept of having 4 walls and a roof so you do not freeze on a sidewalk. The classic personal finance rule, the one written back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and houses cost 40 grand, says you should never spend more than 30% of your gross income on housing. 30% of 100 grand is $2,500 a month. In virtually every major metro area, and even the aggressively mediocre mid-sized cities where people fled during the remote work boom, $2,500 gets you a 1-bedroom apartment with a view of a dumpster and a radiator that sounds like a haunted pipe organ. If you want to actually buy a home, the math becomes comedy. The median home price in the United States is hovering well over $400,000, and with mortgage rates sitting in the 6 to 7% range. Your monthly payment on an average starter home, including property taxes, astronomical homeowners insurance, and HOA fees that fund a committee dedicated to measuring the height of your lawn, easily blows past $3,200 a month. That is more than half of your entire net paycheck. You are not buying an asset. You are entering a hostage negotiation where the house holds your financial future at gunpoint. Then comes transportation. Remember when buying a car was something you did with a couple of months of savings and a firm handshake? In 2026, the average new car payment is pushing past $730 a month. And even a used Honda Civic with 100,000 miles and a mysterious rattle in the glove box is demanding $500 a month before you even factor in insurance rates that went up 40% just because someone in your zip code looked at a telephone pole wrong. Add in the monthly student loan payment that resumed with the vengeance of an angry Greek god. Groceries that make you feel like you are financing a 5-star dining experience every time you buy eggs, olive oil, and bread. And utility bills that surge every summer because the power grid is being held together by duct tape and prayers. By the time you pay for your phone bill, Wi-Fi, and the 6 subscriptions you forgot to cancel that somehow add up to the cost of a luxury yacht lease, What do you have left? You have about $300, a mild panic attack, and an overwhelming desire to scream into a conference room pillow. This is the central paradox of 2026. You are earning what society still defines as elite, high-tier money, yet you are operating with the daily cash flow anxiety of someone who is one blown transmission away from total insolvency. You are rich on paper, but broke on Tuesday. And the wildest part is the psychological gaslighting that comes with it. Older generations look at someone earning 80 or 100 grand and think they must be dining on caviar and investing in commercial real estate. When you tell them you cannot afford to buy a house or start a family, they look at you like you are just irresponsible with your avocado toast. They cannot comprehend that a $70,000 salary in 1995 had the purchasing power of nearly $150,000 today, while entry-level wages have crawled upward at the speed of a tranquilized snail. Now, let us get into the insight that almost nobody talks about, because most personal finance channels want to blame you for buying coffee. Think about how life worked 20 years ago. You bought a tool, a car, an appliance, a piece of software, or an entertainment setup, and you owned it. It was a one-time capital expense. Today, every single layer of survival has been converted into an ongoing, rent-seeking monthly recurring fee. You do not just buy a car. You pay a monthly fee for the heated seats to activate. You do not just buy software. You pay $20 a month forever. Your home security system, your cloud storage, your gym, your productivity apps, your health monitoring. Even your basic home maintenance services have all been engineered to extract a steady, non-negotiable drip of capital from your checking account every 30 days. What this creates is what economists call fixed cost rigidity. In the old days, if you hit a rough patch, you could cut your variable spending to zero, eat canned beans, and weather the storm. In 2026, your fixed floor of unavoidable monthly obligations is so high that even if you sit in a dark room and eat saltines for a month, your baseline burn rate is still 85% of your income. You cannot out-budget a structural trap. So, where does that leave us? Are we just doomed to work 70 hours a week until our retinas burn out, just to hand 90% of our earnings over to landlords, utility monopolies, and credit card processors? Not necessarily. But it requires throwing out the obsolete financial playbook that was written for a world that does not exist. Step 1 is breaking the mental association between your gross salary and your self-worth. Earning 6 figures does not mean you have failed if you cannot buy a 3-bedroom house in a coastal suburb. The math changed, not your competence. Stop measuring your progress against a 1990s sitcom benchmark. Step 2 is aggressively attacking fixed costs rather than obsessing over micromanaging daily variable treats. Spending $4 on a coffee that keeps you from having a public breakdown in the break room is not the reason you cannot afford a house. The reason is the $2,800 rent and the $700 car note. If you want breathing room, you have to make structural lifestyle pivots, finding non-traditional housing setups, refusing the trap of the status car payment, driving a depreciated reliable beater until the wheels fall off, and brutally cancelling the phantom recurring charges bleeding your accounts dry. And step 3, recognize that in this economy, liquidity and optionality beat prestige every single time. Having 6 months of living expenses sitting in a high-yield cash account gives you infinitely more power, peace of mind, and negotiating leverage against a toxic boss than having a slightly nicer apartment with granite countertops that consumes every last cent of your margin. The bottom line is simple. In 2026, a good salary is no longer a golden ticket to Easy Street. It is a defensive shield. It gives you the privilege of breathing without constant terror, but it requires ruthless intentionality to keep it from slipping through your fingers like sand. If you found this breakdown validating, or at the very least comforting in a misery loves company kind of way, hit the subscribe button. It costs $0, requires no monthly subscription fee, and guarantees that the next time you are quietly spiraling during a Monday morning status meeting, you will have another one of my rants waiting for you. Stay safe out there, guard your direct deposits, and drink your overpriced coffee in peace.